This is Emmett Watkins Jr., also known as EP161 on the Twitter, on the PSN, on the Instagram, and everything else. And I am here to tell you guys about my experience at MomoCon in the year of our Lord 2018. Now, going to be talking about my entire stay at the convention. I was there all 4 days, did a lot of stuff. Saw a lot of people, saw a lot of cosplays, played a couple games this year, which is something I never had to make time for in previous years. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, as I do with a lot of these types of videos, history with the convention. I've been going to this convention for, well, this year is my 4th year going to the convention. I went for the first time mainly because in the beginning of the Kind of Funny, of course, being the YouTube channel and, wider company run by, Greg Miller and the rest of the team over there. You're Tim Geddes, you're Nick Scarpino, you're Kevin Coelho, you're Cool Gregs, you're, oh my God, what's Andy's name? Just kidding. Andy Cortez. Yeah, they started that company back in, I want to say it was 2014, maybe 2015. Drawing a blank at this moment, but they started it way back, and that was the first thing that got me into MomoCon. They were actually going to go to MomoCon that year, and my high school friends had been going to MomoCon for years and years beforehand. So I said, well, I've never gone with them. I've never gone to a convention, let alone this convention. So I decided that year was the time. So I went there, talked to Greg, talked to Tim for a while. Got to see them for the first time in my life, and it was a really cool experience for me. That was also one of the first times I met one of my friends right here. I met Andy there, Andy Seitz. I fuck up and say Sitz sometimes, but it is Andy Seitz. That's when I met him there. He drove down to see the guys as well, and then we recognized each other from the Comedy Button Facebook group, and that's what sent me to RTX in years past after that, and on all types of adventures since. So yeah, that was a big year for me. So of course I went back to MomoCon the year after that, and the year after that, and including this year. And I even dressed up in different costumes, starting with my 2nd year there. I was Otto Rocket for my first cosplay attempt ever. As you can see, it was something fairly simple, so it was easy for me to pull off, I like to think. And plus my hair was the right length then. It's a lot more now. And then I also did Lucio last year. And that one was a big hit. I was in a lot of pictures. A lot of people wanted to take photos, of course, being one of the more popular characters from the most popular game out right now. It was very cool just seeing a lot of that recognition. So, of course, back at it again this year. Thursday morning, got up early, got myself a haircut with the part. That's going to come into my cosplay later. And I had to get some last minute materials for my cosplay, and just had to get some doodads and whatnots, had to continue packing and everything. But the thing is, Thursday was also the first day of the convention. So what's the first thing I did at MomoCon? Well, the first thing you do at MomoCon is to just pretty much hit the show floor in a lot of cases. The show floor was packed. On Thursday it's a little bit less populated, of course, but it was still a very cool thing. I think the first thing we did was just go straight into the gaming area. MomoCon's known for their large gaming area. They have old school arcade machines of all types. They got they had a Simpsons arcade game. I want to say they had, some old school shooters. I want to say there might have been a joust machine. Not entirely sure on that. Just a lot of old classic machines, and they had old pinball machines there too, but they didn't just stop at American things. With this being called MomoCon, Momo is Japanese for peach, of course. You wouldn't know that, so that's not really enough, of course. So they had a lot of Japanese culture stuff there too. Speaking specifically in the gaming area, they had Japanese arcade games of all sorts, lots of rhythm games, lots of just quirky Japanese titles. They had a table flip game, which is something I played last year, but I don't think I went to this year, didn't really have time. They had this game called Initial D, which is something that my friend Nicholas was really into, one of my friends in the group. It's basically a racing game, similar to other arcade racers, but you can purchase a card, and then if you insert that card into the arcade machine, it will save your progress to this card, and it's like a license, so it actually has its own art and a printed name on it and everything once you insert it in. It was very cool, very innovative, if you ask me. It was something that a system I hadn't really seen since I think they had an NFL Blitz arcade machine that could let you put in your PlayStation 1 memory card. I remember that from like 2003 or something, when from summer camp visiting arcades and stuff. But that's besides the point. That was a really cool thing. They had all types of arcade games there, but they didn't just stop at arcade games. They had game stations. They had a Just Dance area where people got on stage and played Just Dance pretty much the whole weekend. It was very cool. That whole area was awesome, and that's where I spent the majority of my time on that first day in. Of course, I walked around, got just a few pictures of cosplays and with cosplays. But overall, Thursday is really the day where everyone goes to, just get their feet wet, really, so that they can, dunk their head under come Friday. And so, of course, Friday was a big day for the convention. That is the day where I showed off my costume as BJ Blazkowicz from Wolfenstein 2. Really was excited for this one. Now, as I probably said in my Instagram story, if you guys follow me on Instagram, which you should, I think I'm okay. I dressed up as BJ Blazkowicz because I really love the character. Now, of course, before I wanted to do BJ Blazkowicz, I did have some other characters in mind. The idea of Killmonger came up often, especially with his hair, and I did get stopped by a handful of people that were like, hey, you should have been Killmonger with the hair, you got it. And, I admit that would have been a cool costume, but simply didn't have the resources or the time to pull that off in time for MomoCon. Maybe in a future convention, possibly. We'll see what happens. And also, I wanted to, my original costume was going to be Varl from Horizon Zero Dawn. The second I saw his character, I knew I wanted to dress up as him. But ultimately, his armor and his whole aesthetic is very complicated. It's going to take a lot of actual craft work and stuff, or it's going to take money for me to buy armor pieces and stuff from actual artists who are better at this type of thing than me. And once again, not enough money for that, not enough time for that, and I simply opted for something a little bit simpler. So I went with BJ Blazkowicz. Partially, if I'm being real, his jacket was on sale at the Bethesda store, and so was his shirt. And I've had my eye on that jacket for a while anyway, outside of the cosplay aspects. So when that went on sale, I said, I'm getting that, and I'm getting his shirt, and I'm going to dress up as him once all that went on sale. But even deeper, BJ Blazkowicz was a really big character of mine because, not trying to get into spoilers of Wolfenstein 2, but a lot of that game is kind of about toxic masculinity, in that it talks about the whole idea of, oh, you're the man of the situation, you're the biggest, baddest dude here. You have to care. You have to be the best. You have to carry everything on your shoulders. You cannot fail because everyone's counting on you to be the ace in the hole. And how doing that breaks you down a little bit, and how the game pretty much says that it's okay to not be the hero all the time. It's okay to be a little bit broken. It's okay to be a little bit worn down, and you have to ask for help in those moments. And BJ, without spoiling, he's very resistant to acknowledge the fact that he has flaws, or the fact that everyone's expectations weighing on him is something that is kind of breaking him apart, physically and metaphorically. So I loved how the game tackled that, because that's definitely something that I struggle with a little bit as well. I really don't like asking for help. That is a problem of mine. I just like to handle everything on my own. Even when it's becoming more and more hard to, I like to just, tough it out. We like to just brunt the force of things and then just run through it and then try to come out on the other side. When really, we have to be a little bit more comfortable with accepting help and asking for help in the first place. So that's why I wanted to be BJ Blazkowicz. And to be honest, there were only 3 people that recognized my costume. It was Pope Pool, a Nathan Drake Deadpool, and a Doom cosplayer that I took pictures with on that day on Friday. So my activities on Friday, once again, dressed up in the costume. That was the first thing. Shaved all my facial hair off. It's slowly coming back, as you can see here in the video. But yeah, I got into character, had my little prop axe and everything. Actually, my axe is over here. Yeah, got the axe still, had my little prop axe and everything, and just went in and we had a lot of fun on that Friday. I walked the show floor. Now, I've already talked about the game room. On the other side of the convention hall, very large convention hall, they had a dealer's room, which is basically a whole bunch of vendors of all types of merchandise from primarily anime and a lot of video games as well. A whole lot of video games, probably just as much video game merch as anime merch. It was just stuff from all types of franchises, all types of games. It was really, really cool. Now, if there's a criticism I have about the dealer's room in general, every time I go to MomoCon, the art there is very much centered around. First off, I come to these conventions primarily for video game related purposes. So all the anime stuff, while I appreciate it, and that is what the convention is about to a large degree, doesn't really speak to me. So anime stuff, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I know a few anime, but that's just not my wheelhouse. But when it comes to the video game merchandise, they primarily focused on one of two things: Nintendo characters and Overwatch characters. Now, I played a lot of Overwatch. That was one of my favorite games in 2016, if you saw my video from back then. But I haven't played Overwatch in a hot minute. I actually got back into it with the anniversary update. But it's just not like a game that is constantly on my mind that I want to buy merchandise for all the time, forever and ever and ever. So it was kind of annoying to see the overflowing of Overwatch merch that was available there. A little bit annoying. And then also Nintendo. I'm a PlayStation guy. You guys have seen the games I play on my channel. I appreciate all that Nintendo's done for the industry, and a lot of their games, even ones recently, are really cool. And I want to play a lot of them. Like Breath of the Wild seems like something that will definitely be appealing to me. But I'm just not a Nintendo guy, so all the merch they had for Nintendo characters and Nintendo franchises just did not speak to me. So it was kind of hard finding anything that I dug as a PlayStation fan primarily. You know what? The one thing I did buy, this is part one of my merchandise that I did end up getting from the convention. The first thing that I had, this is my badge from the convention, and on my badge is this little Spyro the Dragon clip-on thingy. It was $3, and like I said, your boy was broke. So this is the one thing I bought at the convention, but you know, Spyro the Dragon, first game I ever played. I owe a lot to this franchise and I owe a lot to this character, and I'm very excited for that remaster when it comes out. So that's the one thing I bought. The other piece of merchandise you'll find out about soon. But yeah, there was just not much for me to buy as a PlayStation character or as a PlayStation person. But regardless of that fact, there was a lot of cool stuff out there. They had some gorgeous art by some really, really talented artists. I don't remember the names of all the booths and everything. Lord forgive me for that. But I do want to show off some more impressive pieces of art. There were some, there were really cool buttons and everything with a bunch of characters from different games on them. There was independent artists who were selling their wares and showing off things that they had available for sale. And it was just really impressive just seeing the talent on display. Probably the most impressive thing I saw, once again, not an anime guy, but there was this one booth that had a collection of art, just really awesome posters all around. But there was this one poster in particular. It was a Naruto poster. And not only was the poster itself like in the shape of the character of Naruto, with the hair and everything, the poster itself was just, it told a story of the two main characters from the anime. And if you started at the bottom of the photo, the characters would like go through different scenes from the anime, and then they would clash at certain points that were, I guess, historic battles from the anime. And it was very cool. The artist actually told us that it took her about 2 years to get that done, or it took her team, or I'm not exactly sure how she created it, but regardless whether or not it was her or a group of people, it was one of the most impressive things I saw at the convention. So I got to give a big shout out to that. That was a really cool poster. One of my favorite things I saw at the convention. One of the most detailed things I saw at the convention. And plus the art style on that, I just adored. So, outstanding art like that. Dealer's Room was also the place where They had all types of merchandise. They had anime for sale. They had, straight up games. There were a lot of just straight up video game cartridges and old school games from, before PlayStation 1. You probably had some, there was some N64 stuff there, some Game Boy stuff, some stuff from consoles that I don't even know exists, that I don't even know what they are by looking at the cartridges. It was really cool. I'm kind of a geek about old video game history stuff. And I love seeing these obscure random pieces of art from long, long times ago. So another thing that we did on Friday was an Overcooked tournament. So Hector, the only other person who bought a badge in our party, he decided that he was going to come with me to this Overcooked tournament. Now, Hector had never played Overcooked before this moment. And I've played a lot of Overcooked on PlayStation 4. And this tournament was on Switch. So both of us were fighting some unfamiliarity of some sort. Him fighting the fact he's never played the game, me fighting the fact that I've never even held a fucking Joy-Con before. It was really difficult for us to get that done. But we held our own in the tournament.
Me and Hector, we tried Overcooked tournament. 2 rounds we lasted, double elimination. Same guys. We went against the same guys. We got murked.
Yeah, we totally got murked pretty quickly. And we went up against the same team both times. The first time we went up, I call it cheating. They call it how you play the game. It was 2 conveyor belts of food on each side. And just willy-nilly, they would come over to our conveyor belt and just take shit off that we needed. And they would just, take things off of our table and just throw it in the trash, and it was just really annoying. And I called them out for it. I was like, hey, you're fucking cheating, this sucks, of course in a comical manner, but I did show my disdain. I was like, yeah, we played with honor, good job, Hector, even though we lost. But yeah, that Overcooked tournament was a lot of fun, even though we got murked. Even though in the next round we went against the same guys, they played fair and still beat us fair and square. But I will say, they had to work for it. We made them work for it. They got in a dish at the last second, and that put them just 1 or 2 points ahead of us, just so they could barely beat us. So can't be too mad at that. But yeah, we got murked in that Overcooked tournament, and after that we spent the rest of our time in that karaoke room. The karaoke room, it's kind of in the corner of the convention. The convention takes place in the Georgia World Congress Center. For a large majority of the con takes place there, but off to the side, it's right next to the Omni Hotel, and in one of the ballrooms of that hotel, they have this karaoke room. I really enjoy my time in the karaoke room all the time. It's just really cool seeing people get up there, sing their songs, do their thing. Even more entertaining when someone gets up there and they got confidence and they knew they were going to get up there and kill it on the mic.
And I keep bleeding, I keep bleeding, love. I keep bleeding, I keep bleeding, love. I keep bleeding, I keep bleeding.
That is just one of the coolest things to see at the convention. And, people sung all types of songs. Of course, Disney was a thing that people leaned on heavily. There were, people, I heard I'll Make a Man Out of You from Mulan a million times. It was just really cool seeing. I just love karaoke. I love seeing people perform, and I just like the idea of performance from regular people. I think that's a really cool thing. I will say the rules were kind of constricting for karaoke. Now, MomoCon, they're trying to market themselves as a child-friendly convention. They want people to bring their kids, bring their families. So for karaoke, they restricted the song selection. Basically, we couldn't swear. Before 11 p.m., no swearing in any of your songs. And after 11 p.m. you could swear, but you couldn't say fuck and you couldn't say the N-word. So that was kind of restrictive, especially me being a fan of rap and wanting to do a couple of rap songs, especially since no one else is doing rap songs. I was a little bit discouraged from that. But I did actually go up there a few times. The first time I went up there, I strategically chose a song that had some rapping in it because I wanted to do some rapping, of course. But it wasn't a rapping song, so I thought I could kind of sneak it in there. And that song was Freedom by Beyonce featuring Kendrick Lamar. But as you'll see, that wasn't the best thing. So yeah, I can't rap, or I can rap, but I can't sing. I am not the best singer. That whole performance was kind of a bust. For that first part, I had my voice super, super high pitched, and it was just not a good idea. It did not match Beyonce's voice on that song at all. And then for her second verse, I tried to do a like low voice thing. And that just, the fact that I changed it in the middle of the song kind of threw people off. It was not a good idea. But that Kendrick verse though.
I keep running, jumping, the accolades, fire hazards and hazardous, smoke alarms on the back of us. My mama don't properly, robbing me, not from me, live from me, free from me, see from me, honestly, not to me, good at me, more than I gotta be, stole from me, lies in me, hate me, the heart was control of me, drop on me, wicked, my spirit is fire, be like, yeah, open correctional gates in higher desert, open our minds as we cast away oppression, open the streets and watch our beliefs, and when they come the name inside the concrete, I pray for every freedom, I can't move.
I nailed that Kendrick verse, and I got props when I went back to my seat on that Kendrick verse. I was really happy about that. And the sad thing about that is, went up there, did kind of an okay first try for karaoke. I went up there 2 more times during my stay at the convention. I went up there another time that Friday night, and I went up there once again Saturday night. And I never could choose a song that I knew comfortably enough that also wasn't offensive to them. And to be honest, by the end of the convention, they just didn't really care. Like, the later in the night it got, the more lenient they got with the rules. On that Saturday night, there was a lady who sung that Sorry Not Sorry song from, I think, Demi Lovato. And I like that song quite a bit, actually. But in the song, she says, quote, "You're fucking with a savage." And this woman got up there, sung those words twice over, and no one said anything, and they gave an explicit warning that if you say these words, we will cut you off, and no one cared. So I was kind of salty about that, but ultimately, I did go up there for karaoke a couple times and had a decent amount of fun. The other 2 times that I went up there, I sung Now That We Found Love by Heavy D and the Boys, and I sung Eminem, It's Okay, which was the only Eminem song I could think of that had this very, very minimal language and wasn't just horribly gratuitous. I actually got a little discouraged when I went up to do that Eminem song, because I got up there and the lady who was queuing up the songs was like, "Hold up, who the hell put Eminem up here?" And I was like, oh fuck. And I understand the reputation Eminem has through his history and his lyrics and everything, but man, I just wanted to sing a song, and it was one of the few positive Eminem songs, so I strategically chose it, and it was just, didn't feel good to get shat on about it. But other than that, Friday was also the day that I saw even more cosplay. I saw that Doom Marine, that was really kick-ass. I saw Watch Dogs 2, I saw Marcus Holloway. You see him in the background here. And I saw some other people as well. It was very cool. But the biggest highlight of the whole convention, let alone Friday, was the time I got to meet Troy Baker and Nolan North. Now that was a really cool experience for me. Those guys are, I've been listening to their voices in so many games. You can probably see a couple of them behind me on the shelves here. But it was kind of a weird experience though. So as I said, your boy was broker than a joke. So, but I was aware that, getting autographs from them, getting pictures with them, they're not here for free. I knew it was going to cost a certain amount to get pictures, to get autographs with them. So my original plan or my original expectation was that I had bought a copy of Saints Row 4 recently from Toys R Us actually. It was on sale, it was on clearance. Bought a PS3 copy of that, and my intention was to get them to sign it. Troy Baker being, of course, the voice of the default character in Saints Row 4. And Nolan North, actually, you can create your character in Saints Row 4 if you don't know, and one of the selectable voices is listed as just straight up Nolan North, because that game was kind of released when Nolan North is in every game. That whole idea was kind of a meme at the time, so you wanted to capitalize on the joke and get him in the game. And I thought that was kind of funny. So I wanted to get them both to sign the game. Then I saw the prices of how much everything cost. So now this is going to sound really salty, but I respect these guys, and this is the industry. I suppose this is what you do at conventions like this. This is just how it is. But to get I'll start from the highest prices. To get a voice recording with these guys, so video or anything involving their voice, $50 for a voice recording. To get an autograph from these guys, $40 for an autograph on anything. They had prints there. That was the print's free if you pay for an autograph with $40, not a free print. But if you had something you wanted signed, just $40 for the autograph. And it was $20 to get a picture taken with these guys. I know, $20 for a fucking selfie, that's a lot. I understand, and it definitely felt like a lot. Keep in mind, these prices are for each of them. They each had their own booth because they are big names each individually. So $20 at Nolan's booth and $20 at Troy's booth. I went in thinking, okay, I might only have enough to, see one of them. I didn't really have that much. I was thinking, okay, if it's like 50 or 40, I'll just get a picture and an autograph from Troy or Nolan. I was trying to figure it out. Once I saw their prices, I was like, fuck it, I'm getting a picture with both of them and just putting the copy of Saints Row 4 back in my bag and calling it a day. I respect the guys. They were actually pretty nice, but it's just not... Ooh, when you're broke, those prices hurt. Usually I save up a lot of money for these conventions, but this year just things hit me right beforehand. I just couldn't really bring that much money with me to the convention, so kind of sucked, but water under the bridge. When I met Troy Baker, it was actually, he was very nice. His was pretty quick because he had a long line, so he didn't want to keep people waiting too long, and I respect that. That's totally fine. But he did, kind of make oh snap, look at that, when he saw my kind of funny pop socket on my phone. He is a kind of funny best friend as well. So I thought it was really cool for that. But Nolan North was a lot more, spent a lot more time. His line was a little bit shorter, quite a bit shorter actually, because Troy Baker, a lot of people lined up early and he just had a long line for a while. But Nolan North people kind of came in throughout his stay on both days. They were there multiple days. So when I got to Nolan, I made sure to thank him because, everyone gets their Uncharted stuff signed for them. Everyone has their Last of Us stuff, their Call of Duty zombie stuff. He did do a character in Call of Duty Zombies, which I did not know until that day. But yeah, everyone has their things they want him to sign, and their games that they reference. I went up there and referenced, of course, Saints Row 4, and I was like, hey dude, thanks for Spec Ops: The Line. And this guy turns to me, he's like, you know what, I've been here all day. You're like the 4th or 5th person to mention Spec Ops: The Line. I appreciate that. And so I felt really, that was a wholesome moment. And then, after we took our selfie, I was like, and also, thanks for Saints Row 4. And he was like, holy shit. That game was a lot of fun to make. And he told me a little anecdote about making that game. And long story short, he basically said how Laura Bailey recorded her lines for one of the female characters one of the female voices you can select she recorded her lines, very early on. So when they got Nolan on board to do his version of those voices, he had to match the exact length of time that she said her lines. So if she said, whatever phrase in 7.7 seconds, you had to hit that by a few milliseconds, and you didn't have that much space in between. So, he was saying how it was a very interesting challenge, and I was like, wow, that's a cool thing I didn't even know about those games. And so, it's really personable, loves to make jokes all the time, very charismatic, funny guy. Nolan, just a real bro. It was good talking to him. It was very good talking to him. Even if the conversation was brief, it was a back and forth. So I appreciated that. Really, really big shout out to those guys for just being great. Just both of them just being great. And so that was Friday in a nutshell. Saturday of the convention. That was another long day. Friday, that time in my karaoke room, that time in the karaoke room lasted until 2:30 in the morning. Didn't get home until about 3 a.m. And even once we got home, my friends had bought some chicken and stuff and rice and stuff from Walmart, and they were cooking up a storm at fucking 3:30 in the morning. I even went and I bought ramen and everything earlier, so I was cooking my shit, and we were just, having a little bit of a potluck, everybody eating from everybody's thing. And Jesus Christ, I don't think I went to bed until about 4:30 in the morning that day. And we were up and at 'em the next day. I think we got to the convention like Saturday morning. We were there a good 10 a.m. already. So, and we woke up a good hour and a half before we even had to leave. So, we probably had 4 hours of sleep, maybe less. Not fun. Not fun at all. So, Saturday, we did a lot more. Once again, we were in the karaoke area a lot, but that was more towards the end of the evening. We spent a lot of time in the show floor. So, walking around, looking at things, and we went around, saw some more art. There was a lot of vehicles at the convention as well. A lot of, vehicles from things in pop culture that people at the convention would care about. You had your Jurassic Park Jeep. You had your Back to the Future DeLorean. You had, they had the Transformers cars. They had Bumblebee and the police car, which I think is a Decepticon. I forget the name of the exact character, but yeah, it was definitely a Decepticon. And it was just really cool seeing all the vehicles there. They actually even had, though this isn't attached to the game itself, they had a van decked out in a whole bunch of Fallout art, which I thought was really cool as someone who's a fairly big fan of that franchise. As you can see by some of the shit behind me, probably. But yeah, I just thought that was really dope. We got to take pictures of the cars. It costs money to take pictures with the cars. Even more to take pictures in the cars. Lots of shit like that going on, but hey, that's a convention. That's how you get your money out of it, so you don't come for free. But yeah, it was really cool seeing all that stuff. Me and Nick actually had a couple turns at some more of the pinball tables. We played a couple of the arcade games. And I actually got in some time on the actual game stations. Now, the game stations are separate from the Japanese arcade games, separate from the American arcade games. They had areas where you could just go to a game station and it was just a flat screen TV and a random console hooked up. They had, pretty much any console from the last decade at least. They had a Wii hooked up. They had N64s hooked up, at least one N64. I remember seeing someone playing Star Fox of all things. N64s, they had GameCubes, they had all types of stuff. People were playing Melee there, of course. They had CRTs for Melee. Someone was actually playing on a Beauty and the Beast CRT, which I thought was really cool. Maybe not cool, but definitely interesting. It was really cool to see. And they had plenty of games to choose from that you could just rent out, take over to the system. You could play there all day if you wanted to, as long as you had checked out a controller in a game. It was totally cool as long as they kept everything on check. Now, the game that I had my eyes set on, earlier that day, we had walked past this kid playing PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Now, I'm a PlayStation guy. I still have a little bit of salt how people just discredited that game instantly because it looked so much like Smash and therefore could not be good because it was not Smash. But that is still one of my favorite fighting games of all time. And a game I still love to this day. A game I still need to go back and finish the platinum for on PS3 before the servers get taken down. But yeah, just really love that game. So when I saw this one kid playing alone by himself, I was like, I respect the fuck out of you, kid. And I'm not about to sit down and play with you right now. But eventually I would come back and play with him. And sure enough, a couple hours later, came back to get a couple of rounds in. And there was a couple of homeboys there, a couple of, young men my age, my color as well. Henceforth, the homeboys comment. But yeah, it was about 3 of them playing, and then this guy came over with his 2 kids, just, random white dude, and just sat down with us, and his 2 little toddlers, or maybe not toddlers, they were maybe 10 years old-ish. They were playing with us, and I was so surprised. They knew everything about this game. The kid that was playing earlier, he was one of those kids, and he was like, Big Daddy was his main. He knew all the moves, and he was like, you guys know about Big Daddy, right? And I was like, yeah, dude, I just platinum Bioshock too.
Okay, I'm gonna lose. I literally just got my little one.
Oh, well, okay. Already getting it. Oh, okay, the controller. Learning.
Oh, I've already played this game. I played it earlier today.
Oh, did you? Oh, it's her first time.
Yeah, man, I never played.
Yeah, today was my first time.
Oh, damn it. Let my super go at the wrong time.
It was really cute, actually. It was really cool. I love seeing, kids who love the shit that I'm into. Makes me excited for the day when I have a child and I get to introduce all the things that I love to them for the first time and see how they respond to it. It was really, really heartwarming moment. I got in a bunch of rounds on there. My friend Marcella, that was in our party as well, got her introduced to the game. She had never played it, and so got her in for a few rounds. And, we went toe-to-toe and we had a blast. PlayStation All-Stars is really a solid game. To all those people who discredit it for not being smashed way back when, that game is still very fun in its own right, and my time with it there at the convention was proof of that. And then after playing All-Stars for a couple of hours, actually had a friend, Natalie. She was part of a Just Dance contest, so I sat and watched the back half of a Just Dance contest.
Hi.
Hi.
When do you go up?
What?
When do you go up?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I mean, you can do that if you want to. What song are you doing it to?
I'm gonna spend the same song like that.
Wait, really? Little Mermaid?
What? No.
What song did you do the other day? Because you sung Little Mermaid at the thing.
No. Here
What?
dancing.
I know, that's why I was like, you're singing. Have you done it? Oh, I enjoyed Millie Furtado.
Which was really cool. Bunch of different contestants, bunch of different people went up, and it was really fun, watching these guys get up there and dance their ass off. Once again, it's just like karaoke. I love people getting up there for the sake of the performance. I love seeing people just get on stage, get in front of people, and just be confident enough to just, do whatever they're going to do whatever they want to. It's just something I really think is cool, really freeing, it's awesome. I just really enjoy it. So, yeah, got to see these dances. A lot of people showed some good moves. There was actually a Deadpool cosplayer that there was one dance where you had to, unguard your sword and, shake your sword. So this dude just, middle of the dance, took off one of his swords and just went at it. That was a very cool moment.
Sword's gonna interfere later.
And Natalie got up there, she did her damn thing. She had confidence, which I really enjoyed and I really appreciated, and that was really awesome. So, yeah, the Just Dance tournament, turns out Natalie didn't win. It was really impressive, actually, for not only the Overwatch tournament, but also Just Dance tournament. If you won, you got medals. They had, real-ass medals that, looked really nice to give to the winners. And, me and Hector the day before were kind of peeved we didn't get one for Overcooked. But for the Just Dance tournament, second and third place got medals. First place got $200, which was crazy considering it's supposed to be a casual Just Dance tournament. Yeah, Just Dance was really cool. I love seeing that stuff, as always. And then also, besides the gaming area I talked about, besides the dealer's room I talked about, there's also an area where they have some tabletop games, some board games and such. I personally didn't spend too much time there, but my friend Nicholas, he plays a little bit more of those games than I do. We stopped and looked at this cool anti-gravity game. It was a board that was kind of balanced on a stick, and a lot of the strategy was in putting things on the board in strategic locations as to tilt it in different ways so that it might, mess up your opponent or something like that. It was really cool. It looked fairly complex because it was more of not a traditional board game in the sense of like a Monopoly or a Life or something. It was way more strategic than that in the style of, more hardcore tabletop games, but just that board was very cool. And I had a lot of, I thought that board was really cool. So I think that was a really innovative idea. I took a lot more pictures of cosplayers on Saturday than I did on Friday. You'll see a couple characters here. Saw a young lady from Nier, saw Reptar. You got some Mortal Kombat cosplayers that were kick-ass. Saw some Bloodborne guys. Saw a lot of dope cosplays. Probably my favorite cosplay was me as a big PlayStation fan. There was a young lady who was dressed up as Kat from Gravity Rush, the Vita launch game that was later re-released on PlayStation 4 and the sequel on PlayStation 4 as well. I thought that was really cool. That was really, in my opinion, an obscure reference. Not a game a million people played, but I just really dug the fact that Vita was getting just the littlest bit of love at this convention. So I had to take a picture with her. But yeah, it was really dope seeing all the people in their costumes and everything. You had your Elizabeth from BioShocks as well and your Harley Quinns as well. Yeah, I just love the costumes that people have, dude. That is like one of my favorite things, just people putting all the effort into their costumes. Because I like to think at this point, my third year dressing up, I know a little bit of that struggle. I keep my costumes simple, of course, but I am aware of that struggle. I know how hard it is to get these costumes together and to execute on everything and to keep it up throughout the convention. And then people haggling you for photos all day. I knew how that was when I was Lucio. I got stopped for a picture probably at least once an hour at both times I dressed up as him on the 2 days last year. So I just really love the cosplays. Now, another thing that's probably specific to MomoCon, I don't know if other conventions have this. Outside, there's like a courtyard area. And in this courtyard, they have just loads and loads of cement. So what people do every year at MomoCon, they bring chalk and they'll sit out there for hours and just draw all types of art on the floor. It's some of the most beautiful stuff I see. It's like a big giant canvas for everyone to just take a corner of and do their own thing, or for a bunch of people to collaborate and do something. Someone actually drew out the overworld. I believe they said it was the overworld to a Legend of Zelda game. I forgot which one. I'd probably be able to tell if I played those games, but it was really cool to see someone who did that, and it took up a massive chunk of the cement too. It was really cool. You had a bunch of art from, someone drew a BB-8 in there. There was someone drew Danny Phantom on one night. I was really impressed by that. I was like, oh, hell yeah, Danny Phantom, I love that shit. And there was just art from all types of franchises, some Steven Universe stuff, and just some, unique art, not even fan art from other franchises. There was just some straight up, just original stuff there. And it was just really cool. I love seeing what that canvas turns into every year, and it is a treat to see every single time. One of my favorite parts of the convention. It's a very small thing, of course, but that is something that I really dug. And another thing I did on Saturday, Saturday is the only day I went to actual panels in the convention. Talked about the show floor a million times during this video already, but the panels were actually very cool too. The first panel was a reading of the Beauty and the Beast script, but it was with a load of voice actors, and they all had different voices for each scene.
They will say bonjour. This is very disturbing. There are 3 women with bouncing, not bouncing, nice voices. They sing about how tall, strong, dark, and handsome Gaston is, and then literally pass out the background as he walks by. Seriously, go back and watch. It's disturbing.
Hey, Morty.
Bonjour, Gaston, a beat. Gaston, may I have my book, please?
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
And I also haven't opened my eyes twice in 20 years. Well, some people use their imaginations.
I know, and you know what? Subtlety is your best quality. Really love that about you. You know, it's time you got your head out of those books and paid attention to more important things. Like me. Right here. Come on, give me the business, Morty.
Jesus fuck.
The hotel is talking about it. It's not right for a woman to read. I mean, soon she starts getting ideas.
Oh, that's more like it.
Thank you. Wait, isn't the narrator supposed to be sort of silent during this part?
I'm taking my badge off.
It was definitely something wacky, definitely something crazy. I actually went to that panel because I did recognize two of the voice actors on there. Of course, Nolan North and Troy Baker. They were both on the panel, and they're always hilarious when they do stuff like that. They did not only characters that they've done from other games, like Nolan North did his character from Call of Duty, which isn't a soldier. He actually did voices for the Nazi Zombies mode, so he did like a weird Russian scientist accent. Among other things. And then Troy Baker, did some characters. He did probably his most unique character he did up there was Joker from Arkham Origins. Very talented young man. But the really funny part was when they started doing impressions of other voice actors or other actors in general. What is it? Troy Baker does a mean Patrick Wahlberg, or I forget his last name. It might be Wahlberg. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But he's Lemony Snicket in the series Unfortunate Events series on Netflix, and he also worked alongside Troy Baker in Tales from the Borderlands. Did an awesome impression of that. They all did some pretty hilarious celebrity voices. I'll say Nolan North does a mean Danny DeVito. That shit is awesome. But yeah, that panel was hilarious. Loved every minute of it. Was laughing my ass off for most of it. Just a really good time. And the other panel I went to, so you guys know the restaurant Arby's, they kill it on social media on a regular basis, and a lot of what kills it on social media for them is these more nerdy posts. They post a lot about anime, they post a lot about video games, they make a lot of posts like that. So I went to a panel starring their social media team.
Like, did you see the what's the Invisible Girl's name from My Hero Academia? Thank you.
That was my costume.
That was Jen's costume. Jen put that costume together, and then wore it, and then shopped herself out of that image to make it feel authentic.
Yeah, a lot of the early costumes you see might be like stuff just from my personal collection, because I was like, oh, it's Fallout, I have a costume, let's do a post. But just as like a sneak peek behind the curtains, there's definitely been a lot more interest in like cosplay specifically. We started working with like other cosplayers and things in that realm, so that's definitely a direction we're looking to explore in the future. And again, we do mostly social, but we're also looking at like coming to conventions. We went to E3 last year, we went to Anime Expo, so it's definitely like an area of interest for the client. So
Something to look forward to.
yeah.
They have a guy who's really into paper crafts, so all those posts you see where it's their boxes or their packaging molded and folded into some weird art piece, that's all that guy. He's actually responsible for a good 95% of the stuff they post, they said. And then they have another young lady on the team who is responsible for the other 5%. So her and him kind of do a lot of the actual artistry of it. And then as far as for the social media, the other guy, he comes up with a lot of the ideas of what they should make. He does a lot. He's the copywriter, so he writes the actual tweets that go up. And then the young lady, besides the 5% of art that she does, she is also the guy who goes to the meetings, and she knows a lot of the deeper stuff when it comes to the marketing strategies. And so it was really cool to see how, this really didn't spring from Arby's being like, hey, you guys got to sell to this crowd, make some nerd memes and go viral. It really didn't start from that place. They were just like dweebs, and they said it really did just start from, they got the potato cakes from Arby's, saw that they were triangles and put them together and were like, oh shit, it's a Triforce, haha, let's post it. And then they convinced the marketing team that would be a good idea. Some of them knew what Zelda was, thankfully, so it wasn't too hard, it seems. And yeah, they made it happen, and that trend just continued on and continued on. And now they're super big in the social media sphere for their more nerd-oriented posts. It was very cool to see. And even cooler, they actually gave everyone a free t-shirt in the panel. That's the shirt I've been wearing this whole entire commentary / video. It's a little Arby's sauce girl going on here. I don't eat Arby's too much, but yeah, Sauce Girl's here. She's talking about, I guess it's supposed to be like roast beef, but a caveman version. It's just a beef on a bone. I don't quite know what type of meat that is, but it's a pretty cool stylized shirt, and I dug it. So I'm rocking it now, and I'm going to rock it out later. So that was really neat, and I actually went to Arby's right after that panel, because I never eat Arby's, because I'm just not a fan of roast beef sandwiches, but, you know, I was like, oh yeah, they have mozzarella sticks and chicken tenders and other things that I like. So I went ahead and tried them out, and I ate a lot of fried food really close together, so that probably wasn't the best idea. My stomach did not thank me later, but you know, Arby's is a solid place. Good on them. Try Arby's today. So yeah, those are the two panels I attended on Saturday. Sunday of the convention. So Saturday, we were there, you know, kind of late. We got home about 1:30 in the morning, but I am the only person who didn't turn up as hard as everyone else. By that I mean, alcohol got involved. Everyone drinking the night before, there was one person in particular that got very inconsolable by the end of the night. Not to a part where they were acting crazy, but you know, it was their first time drinking, so that along with everyone else being tired, you know, we got ourselves home, and you know, some people had volunteer shifts in the morning. It was a whole thing. But then we woke up on Sunday morning, and you know, the person who was inconsolable the morning before or the night before was pretty much just out of there completely the next morning. They were not going to be able to go to the convention, and that was the end of that. So their partner had to call out of their shift, so they weren't even going. We weren't even supposed to get to the convention early that morning. So everyone woke up, and turns out of our party of 6, those 2 that weren't going to convention, 2 more said, hey, we're tired, we're just going to go home too. So that meant it was just me and my buddy Nicholas left to take on the convention on our own. Now Sunday is the cleanup day. Sunday is the day where if you didn't get a picture with a cosplayer, you get a picture. If you didn't buy something from the dealer's room, you get your picture, or you get your item from the dealer's room. If you didn't play a game in the arcade, that's your time to do so. It is the time where everyone gets their last minute things. And especially since the convention wraps up about, you know, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on Sunday, everyone's in there fairly early to get these things done. Me and my buddy Nick, we got there about, you know, noon or so, and we handled our business. He had a couple things he wanted to buy from in the Independent Artist Alley. Artist Alley is a section in the dealer's room where independent artists that aren't necessarily part of a corporation or a brand, they have all of their fan art and all of their original art there for sale, and didn't want to record too much there because so much of what they are selling is what things look like, and recording video or taking pictures kind of ruins that. I was taking pictures and stuff of them initially, and then my friend Nick made me aware, hey, you know that like defeats the purpose of what they're selling, so don't want to do that too much. So yeah, that was just a really cool area. And, you know, we got our last pictures in. We took pictures with a lot more cosplayers. You know, I got to see Circe from The Witcher, a game that my buddy Tyler tells me I really, really need to play. Tyler Westhouse up here somewhere with his girlfriend Claire for the Christmas card that they got me. That goes so hard. I'm a poet, didn't know it. Yeah, so I just got to see a lot more cosplayers, and so I took my pictures accordingly. And, you know, got my last couple turns in on some of the arcade games and everything. And me and Nick palled around for a while, and it was a good time. It was a good convention. Overall, had a lot of fun. I highly recommend if you are in the Atlanta area or if you're anywhere near Georgia and you want to see some cool stuff about anime, cool stuff about pop culture, cool stuff about video games, they cater to all those interests to a great deal. And it's just a really solid convention. Get your tickets early if you do think of going. Save that money. and it's just really dope. They've already announced, you know, a lot. They're already announcing the lineup for next year, and they have like 4 people from Steven Universe, the main cast. They even got Estelle coming, and I know she does a voice on the show, but you know, American Boy is still a jam. So if I get to talk to her and be like, "Yo, American Boy goes hard," even 2018 or 2019 at that point, that'll be really cool. So MomoCon's one of my favorite conventions. I love going to it every year. I hope I don't miss a year, at least not anytime soon. And it's just dope, so highly recommend it. And so that's the end of the video. And I'm going to have a separate video coming soon. Still talking about MomoCon, but I did go to their independent game section. There is a section of the gaming area for indie developers, and they brought a handful of games, and I actually got to play some of them. So, but I want to talk about that in its own separate video that I can promote separately from this one. This more just talking about my experience, and I want one to just talk about the games themselves. So, yeah, without further ado, that's the end of the MomoCon video. I hope you enjoyed me rambling about my time there, and I shall see you in the next one. Adios. Y'all have a good one, and of course, keep it real, keep it true. Have a guy who is really into paper crafts, so all those things you see, there's a spider in my room. Fucking hell, there's a spider in my room. I will come back to this. Fucking hell, it's scurrying. I don't know where it is. Fuck. Oh shit.